With buyer demand dwindling and inventory increasing, what's actually happening to home prices? Are we seeing a huge decline in home prices? And the real question is, what does it mean for you as a first-time home buyer or someone looking to purchase a property? At the same time, we have a new Delta variant playing into the economy, which I honestly believe could have a bigger impact on home prices than you may believe, and we're going to talk about it more as we get into the video. The most recent report from Corelogic showed that home prices increased just over 17% year over year, but their forecast moving forward is a much smaller increase at just over 3%. We're going to take a look at the cities and states that have fared the best year over year and why a pullback in home prices in those markets might not be what you think. Lastly, we're going to discuss a home that I currently have listed for sale in my market. It's been on the market for just over 3 weeks. We're going to talk about what's actually happening with regards to pricing on that property, what's actually happening with offers on that property, so that you can get real boots on the ground approach to how buyers are looking at property that's been on the market for longer than normal times. Before we get started though, I want to ask a favor. If you find any value in this content at all, just one small thing, do me a favor, hit that like button, share it with someone that you know that may find value in the content, as well as I try to provide education rather than spread fear. Nationally, home prices increased 17% year over year, with no states posting a year over year decline in home prices. The states with the highest increases were states like Idaho, Arizona, Montana, Utah, and Connecticut is rounding out the top 10. With that said, you can see by the new chart here, there were several cities that posted huge gains in appreciation where their states didn't make the list. Cities like San Diego, Los Angeles, Denver, Houston, Miami. But with Corelogic expecting a smaller year over year appreciation, what does that actually mean for home prices moving forward? I believe that it means you'll have more options to choose from. I think you're going to have less competition. I don't think buyer demand is going to go away by any means, but the real question is, how does this Delta variant play into the housing market? How does it play into home prices? How does it play into interest rates, stimulus, all of this stuff that, came from the last time we went through this? That's what we're going to talk about here in just a minute. In order to see where we're going with this new variant, let's talk about what we saw last time. Last time we saw stay-at-home orders, but at the same time, we saw contentment in people staying at home, right? Their safe place was being at their house, as that is where they felt safe. At the same time, you have employers asking employees to work from home, and those employees needed larger homes. They needed more space to accommodate offices, to accommodate kids being at home, just more space to move around, versus cities like New York and San Francisco, where people are on top of one another, living in small condensed apartments. Those people moved out of those cities to get more space. And if a new variant comes, could we see that again? In addition, you had a lot of sellers not willing to sell their homes for one of a couple of reasons. One is they could not find a suitable replacement property. They were out looking, they needed something with more space, and they were willing to sell their property, but they were only willing to do that if they could find the right property to exchange their property for. And because of that, those sellers never put their homes on the market. They were looking at a market with very, very low inventory and a lot of increased competition, people going way above the asking price. And so, those sellers weren't willing to sell their property and have nowhere to go, so they stayed in place. At the same time, you had potential sellers that were willing to sell their property, but they didn't want people coming through their homes during that time because they were scared of the virus. They didn't want to get sick. They didn't want sick people coming through their property. And this created a huge issue. And honestly, with the direction that things are going over the last couple of weeks, with this new variant coming out and cities starting to put, masks back at place with regards to indoors, you're seeing, different things happen. I think you could see something similar in some states like California, right? Now states like Texas that were the first to open or never really locked down, like states like Arizona and Idaho, those states are probably going to continue to move in the state direction. But states like California, you could see some regression in the market, in my opinion. We've seen inventory increase, we've seen buyer demand back off a little bit, but if people have to stay at home, if they're, have to wear masks indoors, if employers aren't, bringing employees back into work and they're keeping them at home, those people that thought that they didn't need more space are now perhaps maybe needing it. You have interest rates back down near lows. And so I think you could see, some inventory kind of drop off. And we're going into a time of the year, which is our fall winter market, when inventory normally starts to decrease anyway. So I think you might see, inventory pull back a little bit, which could put further strain on home prices moving forward, especially if this Delta variant becomes something that we have to worry about. Now, I don't believe that we're going to have the same issues that we had last time. I don't think inventory levels are going to get anywhere near there. I don't think you're going to see the same with regards to multiple offer situations across the board. But I do think something like this could keep home prices from moving too far off their highs, right? You might see some pullback in home prices, but not enough to really change the environment, which we've talked about, for the last, couple of months to the last couple of years. And we're actually going to talk about a property that I have listed here in just a minute and how it's set on the market longer than I expected, longer than the seller expected. But are the buyers really getting a deal on that property? Let's take a look at it. So the property that I have listed is here in my local market in Huntington Beach, California. It's a single level 3-bedroom, 2-bath property. Now it needs some cosmetic work, but we priced it with that going in mind, right? So, had that property been completely dialed in, we probably would have priced it in the high 700,000 range, 785 to 800,000. But because of the cosmetic upgrades that are needed, the deferred maintenance in the property, we priced it at 709,000, just under 709,000. And because of that, we knew that we were looking for a specific buyer, right? A buyer that could not only come in with the down payment, that also had the money to do the repairs on that property, to make it their own, and just to make it, livable for that particular person. But we sat on the market for just over 3 weeks now, right? We're at about 25 days on the market as of today, where the average days on the market for Orange County, where I'm located, is 7 days on the market, right? Things are moving very, very fast. 7 days on the market is a blip. You put it on the market, within a couple of days, you got an offer, it goes into escrow. This property, not so much, right? It's set on the market for over 3 weeks now, but here's the caveat. Within the last 2 days, we have multiple offers on this property. Now, over the last couple of months to the last year or so, sale to list price ratio has been over 100%, which means that properties are selling 100% over the list price. So if we priced it at 700 and say 10,000, on average, that property would sell somewhere between 717 and probably 725, just based on that sell to list ratio. In this case, the offers that we've received, both of them are just under the asking price. It's going to be about 2% under the asking price. So a $710,000 property, people are making offers around $695,000. Now, a lot of you will say, well, I've told you home prices were going to decrease and prices were going to go down. But you have to understand, this particular property, was special in the sense that it needed work. Had it not needed any work, it would have sold immediately, just based on the activity that we got. But because it needed work, it took a special buyer. It took people overlooking things in the property and being willing to take this project on. Therefore, it's going to sell for about 2% less than it was listed. But that's still 98% of the sales price on a property that needs a ton of work. This isn't, a property that somebody is getting a huge deal on because it's been listed on the market for, 2 to 3 weeks longer than normal. So while we have seen inventory increase and buyer demand back off a little bit, we're still not seeing a real change in the housing market. So if you're a buyer and you're moving forward, this is something you have to take into account. It's still not a market that you can offer substantially less than the listed price unless it's way overpriced to begin with. Now, we could say that maybe this property was a bit overpriced to begin with just because of the amount of work needed. It's hard to say, right? One person might come in and say it needs $50,000 worth of work. The next person might come in and say, well, I like really nice finishes. I like really high-end appliances. That's an $85,000 remodel. That's what we don't know, right? So it's all about finding that right buyer. But the point here is that even though the property is set on the market a little bit longer, there's not a huge discount on that property. So if you're out there looking as a first-time home buyer, just keep that in mind. Maybe you can offer less than the asking price, but if you're thinking that you're going to get a deal, chances are it's not going to happen. And with things, potentially changing here a little bit with regards to this variant and how it might play into housing, you might see competition come back up a little bit just because people don't want to, if they're worried about being locked in a property, being locked into a situation, they might not want to be locked in the property that they're in, and therefore they're ready to make that move sooner rather than later. I'll keep you updated on everything that's going on, but do me a favor, comment below, let me know your thoughts on the housing market. Where do you think prices are going? How do you think this variant is actually going to play into the housing market? And if you're someone looking to purchase a property, do me a favor, check out this video here. I go over 5 things that you absolutely have to keep in mind if you're looking to buy a property. So do me a favor, watch that and let me know your thoughts. But for now, I appreciate you taking the time to watch. I appreciate all the support. Hope to see you again soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.